Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. We have a great show. We're going to talk about Airbnb. We're going to talk about all things real estate investing today. We're going to talk about how our guest quickly scaled his Airbnb business, which I think is a very interesting topic. I think within 24 months, he was doing months of 100K and above in gross revenue. So I want to dive into how he built the machine. Did he start with Arbitrage? How did he get these properties? I know you, the viewers out there, are going to be interested in watching this. So welcome to the show, Quentin West.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the intro, Beau.
All right. So take us back. It sounds like you've been in real estate for a few years, but you really kind of turbocharged it. So like how did you first find out about short-term rental investing? And were you going in arbitrage in the beginning? How did you just propel yourself so quickly?
Yeah, so I really never had any plans of getting into Airbnb. It was kind of a necessity at first. So I had bought this property right before I quit my job in construction. And then I became a full-time real estate agent. And when you first start out as an agent, they don't just hand you deals to close for people. So I wasn't able to make my commissions early on, which led me to not being able to keep up with my mortgage. So I had a friend that was doing Airbnb at the time with a house that he inherited, and it just made sense for me. I already had furniture in the house where I was living there before. So I moved back in with my parents and I put the house on Airbnb. In the very first month, I profited $1,000. And looking at that from the outside and me only making around $1,000 a week at the time salary, it really opened my mind up to what was actually possible using Airbnb instead of long-term rentals, because I had always wanted to get into real estate and have passive income and have my assets pay for my living expenses and my liabilities. But I never looked at it in the form of short-term rentals where you can make several $1,000s a month in profit off of a property instead of only a couple $100 with a typical long-term rental. So that was my first entry into Airbnb.
And how long ago was that? Was it just a few years ago?
That was in 2019.
Okay.
So a little over 3 years. I bought the house around November and I quit my job in December. And then I just thought that real estate sales were going to kick off and I'd have no problems, but that just wasn't the way that it turned out for me at the time.
Okay. So now walk us through. Okay. So you've kind of proved the model. You said, oh, this works, right? I
Yeah.
can book. I'm learning the strategies of, being a good host and getting good ratings on Airbnb and was did you put your properties on Airbnb first or VRBO or Verbo?
Airbnb, now we have all of our properties on both Airbnb and VRBO, but early on I didn't even know how that worked, how we could use a channel manager to sync our calendars and things like that. I was just starting out and really had no clue what I was doing.
So once you get caught the bug,
Yeah.
how did you figure out? Because it's still, you probably didn't have that much money. So how did you get your next property? Did you
No,
start a
not at
hosting
all.
service?
Yeah, so I was around 21 years old. So I didn't have the greatest credit. I had to use an FHA loan to purchase the first house. So I was only in it around $1,500 after it was all said and done. And it was a foreclosure. So I got a good deal. And I didn't have a ton of money. When I first moved out of my house, I had like $6,000 in savings to where I just scrapped together everything I possibly could before I quit my job. That way I'd have some kind of buffer if things went south. So I was looking on the internet, I was watching Bigger Pockets, I was going through all the things that we do as beginner investors, trying to figure out a creative way to buy more properties. And really, that's where I got my knowledge for creative financing that I didn't use until later. But in that process, I stumbled on Airbnb arbitrage. The guy was talking about how he was renting properties and then subleasing them on Airbnb, and he was still able to make several $1,000s a month using this model. So I'm just an action taker by heart naturally. As soon as I get some knowledge that I think is going to work, I'm just super excited to go ahead and put it in play and see what happens. And that's exactly what I did. And it turns out that one of the first landlords I ever spoke to, and it doesn't happen like this every time, but I just got really lucky. But in the first week, I was sitting at a table with an owner, and he was, talking with me over what my business model was and what I did. And of course, I'm telling them everything I possibly can to get this property, even though I have no idea what I'm doing at the time. Like I've got a house that I own and it's working out, but is that a fluke? At the time I was still questioning if, did I just get lucky with this house, or is this actually repeatable? So I ended up signing a lease with him that day. And every year since then, that was 3 years ago, we've profited over $18,000 a year on that one house. He signed the lease with me. I had a credit card with a couple $1,000s on it. I used that to buy furniture. I looked on Facebook Marketplace, bought used stuff, and I just put everything I could into this property to get it up and running. And it turns out it worked out exactly like the first one. And that helped me not only prove the concept of Airbnb, but also the arbitrage model. Now I knew I could actually rent a property and then sublease it on Airbnb.
And what part of North Carolina were these properties?
Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem. I just read an article that's one of the most emerging markets right now. I think it's a
Yeah,
hot market. Yeah.
it definitely is. All of North Carolina, Charlotte is really up and coming. I've helped my dad he's got 3 units in Charlotte. He does a lot of business in Charlotte and drives back and forth. And we were curious about that market, but they've done extremely well. He's got 2 properties that are doing extremely well, and between the 2, I think he told me he's profiting $8,000 to $10,000 a month by renting to traveling nurses and insurance claims for victims of fire and flood. So the arbitrage model is just super powerful if you could get into a market like that.
Was your dad arbitraging, or was he?
So those are arbitrage. All 3
Okay.
of those.
Oh,
are
wow.
arbitrage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's incredible. Actually, the first guest that he ever got. So he opened 2 houses at one time, and he listed them on Airbnb. And within a week, he got an inquiry for 3 months on one of his houses, and they actually needed 2 houses. It was a movie production company, so they rented both of those houses for him from him for 3 months and sent him a $40,000 wire, and he barely even had that much money into the properties. So within 1 month, he got all of his money back from investing in those units. Now, again, that doesn't happen every time, but it shows you what's possible when you're looking in the right markets and, designing your properties in a way that attracts people like that.
Hi, this is Beau, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. Are you a real estate investor with properties and you're trying to figure out how to refinance or grow your existing real estate business? Need some clarity and a game plan for moving forward? I'm offering a free strategy call where we dive deep on your real estate investing goals. I'll help you come up with a strategic finance plan that will help you get to where you want to go. Whether you've got a portfolio of 30 properties or you're starting out with your first property, I have a framework that has helped many investors grow. If you're interested, book a call below in the Calendly link.
So your properties in Winston-Salem area are just are they big kind of custom homes? Or are they just kind of working class, nice, decent neighborhood, 3-bedroom, 2-bath? What
Yeah,
kind of?
yeah, most of them are working class. His properties are more higher end, 700,000 to $1 million, which in some markets is not a lot, but in our market where the average is 250,000, those are definitely higher end homes. We are catering more towards the working class families just traveling to visit, friends and family in the area, traveling nurses. We do a lot of insurance claims as well, with relationships I've made over the past few years.
So those are more midterms then? They're like 30 days to 6-month type of stays?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say about 10% of our bookings are midterm, where we have somebody stay in where their house caught on fire, or they had a plumbing leak and now their kitchen has to be redone and they've got mold in the house and things like that, where they can't live in the property while it's being done.
Are you actually going out and hunting for those type of relationships with insurance companies, or they just come organically through VRBO and
So
Airbnb?
we are hunting for them now, but it didn't start that way. I had listed our properties on Airbnb, and then I started seeing bookings come in like that. And the first one or two, I really didn't think anything of it. And then like the third or fourth one, I spoke to the guest and I was like, "Can I get in touch with, the person that's in charge of your stay?" So they gave me their number and I started forming a relationship with that person. I sent a gift basket to their office with cheese and wine and all this kind of stuff to help build that relationship. And the I really think the giving something to somebody else, it makes them want to give something back to you. So by showing them that we're willing to invest in that relationship, that sent a lot of business towards us with that one person. Since that first guest that stayed with us, they've probably made us $200,000 off of that $250 gift basket and a few calls. So this business is really a business of relationships, and a lot of people, they get bookings like that, but they never really think to form that relationship. They just let it pass by and wait for the next one. But I try to teach people to, if you're getting a source that is unusual income, then figure out where it's coming from, form a relationship, and figure out how to replicate that in either that property over and over again or multiple properties. And that's really helped us in every market and multiple people that I've taught.
So is your portfolio mostly arbitrage right now, and then you're slowly adding units as you get the cash flow build up? You'll buy something. Is that kind of the way you're looking at it?
Yeah, so we've been focusing primarily on arbitrage for the past 3 years. I own 4 properties. We arbitrage 33, and then I manage 5 for other people. This year, we're going to continue to get a few arbitrage properties every month, but we're looking more higher end, like the properties my dad has in Charlotte. And then we're also looking to buy 50 multifamily units, which we're going to either increase the value, or we're going to turn them into short-term rentals so that we can increase the cash flow on the properties.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting model. Small multifamilies, at least taking a percentage of them and converting them to mid-term furnished, corporate furnished, extended stay type, and then some short-term and testing. I think it's kind of what I was looking to do here in Vegas on like some duplexes and fourplexes, because there's so many people. It's tough though. There's Vegas because it's so many hotels, so you can't do really. It's really hard to do it in Las Vegas, but in the unincorporated area, you can get a permit as long as you're not near. So you just got to learn the rules, because eventually, I think like 90% of people don't have permits and they run them illegally here. Which which is I don't blame them. And I don't blame homeowners like that are complaining about bad, as long as you're managing them and there's not like complaints all the time. Who the heck cares? Neighbors shouldn't care. But if there's parties and stuff, I could understand that kind of component. Like I wouldn't want a house next door like 2 o'clock in the morning, those kind of things. But most people have there's so much technology now, right? I think the hardest part, and all my stuff is long term, and I'm like, I missed the boat on short term, and now I'm like, all right, I gotta do it now, because here in the Vegas area, like I think they're gonna run out of. They're gonna give you a certain amount of permits, and like if you get in first, nobody can have a B&B within a certain vicinity. So you're almost gonna get grandfathered in. So I'm really kind of studying it now, and I'm like, I gotta pull the trigger and start doing it, because I gave my friend a course on Airbnb. 2 years later, he's got 5 properties and he's grossing 70 grand a month off 5 properties. And I'm like, okay. And then I told him about cost segregation, right? And he's like, offset his earned income, because it's like the coolest tool. I mean, at some point, I think some of the markets are you're getting saturated, right, with too many. And
Absolutely.
But I think like the working class, I think like Las Vegas area, to me, you're getting a lot of people that are moving here, and you're also getting a lot of people that vacation. So to me, it's a pretty good, solid market you're always going to have, versus like if it was just a vacation market, you'd have to be a little bit more careful. Like a lot of my friends, I do financing for a living, so I finance a lot of these B&Bs for people and do a lot of hard money and bridge and commercial loans.
Okay.
So I see everybody where they're buying and stuff. So it's interesting, I have some friends doing co-living, which seems like a lot of headache, but they're crushing it doing co-living spaces, like kind of the pad split model. There's a lot of ways to make money, but it's amazing because it sounds like you're in your mid 20s now.
24.
24. Jeez. Believe it or not, I'm old enough to be your dad. I'm 45. That's crazy. Good for you, though.
Thank you.
I love hearing these success stories, and that's why I also like doing the podcast. Because I bring on cool guests where I'm like, okay, you learn to learn different strategies, like what's available, like Airbnb, like arbitrage. You don't need much money; you just need the skill sets to do it, right? And you just kind of stumbled into it and learned, and then taught yourself and kind of grew it, it was just a cool story.
Exactly.
So do you have, managing the properties? So my friend that I was telling you about, that's got the 5, that's doing very well. He has somebody in the Philippines that's doing the contact, that has had prior experience. I think that's pretty good. Is that similar model to like how you would recommend? Like, I mean, it's probably just like the standard cookie cut messaging back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, we use VAs in our business too, and we also source VAs for other people. Like our students, they've asked in the past how they can get virtual assistants, so we just started, offering that as a service to them. But most of our communication and stuff, my personal assistant takes care of. She's not local, she's virtual, but she's within an hour away. She's a family friend and she's great. So I have no complaints there. I don't even know if we could replace her with somebody in the Philippines, because she just does such a great job and does so much. But yeah, you can definitely use a virtual assistant in the Philippines to manage, one property or 10 properties, 15 properties, 100, if you have a team. But I mean, it's all up to your model and how you want to arrange everything. I personally like the person that is, talking back and forth with my guests, for me to have a more personal relationship with them, and for them to be somewhat local, so that we can meet and do Zoom calls if necessary, and everybody's kind of on the same page. With the virtual assistants in the Philippines, there's still a little bit of a disconnect, because they do live so far away, and you miss a part of community by them only being virtual, and them not being able to come to company gatherings and events and things like that.
So walk me through the process. Let's just say we'll use me as an example, and you don't know the Vegas market probably, but so what are the top tips? So I'm looking, I find one. I'm probably going to find one in the unincorporated area, so I can actually get the permit and do it the right way, so I don't have to deal with it. So I'm looking. Are your tools that you're using is something like you'll go and run like an AirDNA initially? Like what are the steps that you would say for, hey, this is kind of like the quick dive on how I would say, does this make sense or not?
Yeah. So the quick dive, and I like to work it backwards. So now our minimum profit per month for any new properties is $2,000 a month. So we take our minimum profit number, and then we add on to that the average rental rate for whatever bedroom setup we're looking for. So say a 2-bedroom rents for $2,000 a month. Now we're at $4,000. Say the utilities are another $600. Now we're at $4,600. Cleaning expenses, $500. So we're at $5,100. Now we go to AirDNA, we look at what the average income is for a property similar to the one that we just created hypothetically. So 4-bedroom, we go on to AirDNA. If that property doesn't make over $60,000 a year, then we know it's not even an option. It's not going to meet our minimum profit criteria. And then after we've realized, hey, this area, it's going to make $65,000, $70,000 a year. Okay, now let's go to Zillow. What can we actually find a property for in this area for rent? And then once we find an area that meets our profit criteria and we can actually pay market rent for, we're going to start sending messages out to those landlords in that area. So where our virtual assistant comes in, every single day, she's taking our buy box, for lack of a better word, like our search criteria. She's plugging it into Zillow as a save search. That way, every single day she's getting automatic updates. As soon as she gets those updates for the new properties, she's sending out messages. That way, we're the very first ones to hit their inbox, and we can get ahead of everybody else. As soon as she confirms that the landlord is agreeing to the arbitrage model, she has several things in her script that answer all of my questions that I would have to pre-qualify them. She is then going to put them in a list, a spreadsheet with the address, the rent, how much profit Airbnb says it's going to make, and then the property owner's information. Once I look over the list, I decide, hey, I want to pursue this property. That's when I call and I close them. And she's emailing them under my email. So I just look back on their email transactions, see what they've been talking about. Now I can pick up exactly where she left off.
So the VA is sending a message, gets a response back. Maybe it's got some questions. You already kind of have a boilerplate templates like respond back this for this.
Yep,
if that, then this kind of thing. And then at some point you like it, the numbers are there, it's pre-qualified, you get on the phone and do your closing. Like, hey, like I'm the real deal. I'm going to make sure, little maintenance things like a normal tenant you're not going to have to deal with. This is the best thing for you, for the landlord, right? It kind of is, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it
really is.
I have a bunch of rentals in Indiana and by Notre Dame College, and somebody wanted to Airbnb master lease it for me. I was okay because it's too far. I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it makes sense for me. I want to build a portfolio of short term that's like within an hour or so from me. Just because, just the turnover. Do you use like an outsourcing turnover company for cleaning, or do you since you're starting to do so many, do you have your internal cleaning company now because it makes more sense?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we outsourced. Once we got to around 15, 20 properties, that's when we started hiring in-house. And now we have a whole separate cleaning company where we clean other people's properties too.
So you made a whole nother profit center out of that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You're smart. You're very smart, because cleaning's not cheap, right? I mean, like the average, I think that makes a lot of sense to do it that way. So the market's kind of changed a little bit, but your numbers are still holding up pretty solid. But you sounded like you're starting to pivot more to like diversify your portfolio. So you're starting to, I think you can make huge cash flow arbitrage, right? But then the real wealth is created by buying and holding real estate. So now you're going and looking for multifamily properties. You're looking to do creative financing where you're actually acquiring the properties through like sub two. I'm guessing different lease option techniques. What's that looking like? How are you progressing your business now that you're a couple years in?
Yeah, so I always tell people like arbitrage is the first step. Like if anybody tells you that going out and buying rentals, unless you have a 6-figure salary, it just doesn't make sense for a beginning investor. You need to create more cash flow in a real estate space, ideally, so that you can learn real estate and focus on that every day. So like arbitrage, wholesaling, and flipping. If you can do one of those and dive into the real estate space and learn that every day while also building cash flow, now you have a business that you can throw money into your rentals. And that was my plan the entire time. Build up our cash flow with arbitrage, because it's not long-term wealth. Like, it's cash flow, it's temporary. We want to put that into, multi-million-dollar multifamily property where we can do a value add and increase our net worth by $1 million with just rent increases. That's the type of deals that I want to do going forward. The cash flow, though, makes incredible sense for somebody just starting out, especially if they go into co-hosting where they just manage for somebody else. Then they don't need any money. They don't need any credit. All they need is somebody that understands the value of Airbnb and them managing it for them. So our plan going forward is we're still going to slowly build our portfolio. Right now, we're scaling down a little bit with properties that aren't making as much cash flow. We only want to deal with properties that are making $1,500, $2,000 or more a month. In the beginning, we settled for $800 to $1,000 a month on a couple properties. And now, being a larger company, we have more expenses, which means we need better, larger properties so that we can make more cash flow, pay our payroll, and continue to scale.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a great story and great like business model. And then obviously, as you've gotten some expertise in this arena, people came up to you and wanted you to coach them. So you started a coaching program.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so I've been coaching around 2 years now. It started with my brother wanted to get into it. Now he's got a couple deals of his own. He just graduated college. So he came out of college profiting $3,000 a month with Airbnb, with me managing it for him. I taught my parents how to do it. They've got their own units. They'll probably make $400,000 this year on Airbnb. My cousins got units, and then friends started asking me. I started coaching them, and then more people consistently came up to me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stop this one-on-one stuff. I'm going to record exactly what I do. I'm going to put it into PDFs, other documents that I can share with people, and then we'll have a group call every week. So now I give everybody all the tips that I didn't have: how to build their credit, how to remove hard inquiries, charge-offs, late payments, things like that from their credit, so they can then leverage that in their business like I was able to do, but didn't have a coach to tell me how. And then start from anywhere. I mean, if they have no money and no credit, I walk them through the co-hosting model, how to find people to co-host for. I give them scripts and co-hosting agreements so they have a contract that they can sign with that person. We have lease addendums. We have everything that they need to go from literally zero to over $1 million a year like we have in our company.
That's awesome. And what's where can people find that info on the course?
So the best way is to get onto our webinar or DM me personally. We don't have a set website. We only like to bring in people that are a fit for the company. So they can find me at Q Deals Homes on Instagram or message me on Facebook, Quentin West. And then we can talk more about what's going on with the program at that time and if we have any spots available.
Cool. Very good. Well, this really this is just reaffirms for me. I gotta get out of the long-term rentals because they're kind of, I own a bunch in the Midwest and in Pennsylvania. I'm on the West Coast.
Okay.
And it's like, the amount of headache you get with owning housing stock that's not cash flowing that great, right? Like versus just, like my friend focuses on large properties, got two in Arizona, two in Tahoe. And those are netting them like $4,000 to $7,000 per house per month, right? Yeah. Like no brainer for me. It's like you can own way less doors, and then you can create that cash flow. Then you can invest. You can even invest as a limited partner in a large syndication if you didn't want to do the value add, right? Like you make your money work for you. But I like it. I see the what do you think the biggest challenges are as you're getting started? I would probably say finding good turnover help is probably critical, because if you get bad reviews because there's stains on the sheets and things like that to me is probably so critical. What kind of pitfalls do you learn that would you say are the biggest things that you need to watch out for in the beginning?
In the beginning, it's really just learning the process. And I think people overcomplicate it sometimes. But find a cleaning crew, somebody that you meet with, you have, a good vibe about them. You think that they're honest, and then check over them for the first 10, 15 cleanings. Make sure they're actually doing what you want. And eventually they'll figure out, hey, I need to check under all the beds. I need to do all this stuff. And we also have cleaning checklists that are totally free if somebody joins my Facebook group. It's called One More Door. Real estate tips for serious investors. So they can get that to make sure that they get 5-star cleanings. They need to do walkthroughs and inspections after their cleanings, because at the end of the day, your cleaning crew can make or break you. One of the big mistakes we made early on was hiring out our cleaning and not doing inspections. And so they were leaving trash under the beds. They were leaving, curtains, off the rods, just overlooking things that a guest walks into and they're expecting it to look like the pictures, and everything's out of whack. So things like that with inspections, you can really avoid those issues, and it will make sure that you get 5-star reviews. So I'd say that's the biggest problem with new people just getting in. And also, I think people just overthink the process. It really is that simple. The people that come through our program and they do as I ask them to, they go through all the material and then they immediately take action, they get results. It's the people that overthink it and continually jump on the calls. They ask all their questions, they get all their answers, but they never do anything with it. It's like a mental masturbation. They're just trying to learn more and more over and over again. Those are the people that the 6 weeks is over and they're still sitting with nothing going on, even if they have money in the bank. They're just
they could have had at least they could have bought a property. They could have gotten a couple arbitrages deals done, right? Like it really, yeah, you're right. It really comes down to taking action and whatever you're going to do. Like, and that could be as simple as like what you're having your VA do, right? That's the first step, like to get these arbitrage deals.
Exactly. Yeah. And what I tell them, like, if you reach out to the landlords, just do 15 a day. I mean, you can do 15 within 30 minutes. All you're doing is copy and pasting. So if you do 15 a day, you don't have to sign a lease with them. Just get in the habit of sending out messages and interacting with people. And once they say yes, like we're good to sign a lease, come back and ask me questions. Like that's all you have to do, and you can sign leases. Like one of the biggest students that pop out in my head, she was with us for less than 30 days, had no money, was starting completely over. And she started reaching out to landlords. She got a credit card so that she could put furniture into one. And the landlord reached back out and said, yeah, I've got 9 properties I'm happy to give you. If you can't fill them all, I'll put furniture in them and you can manage them for me. So overnight, she is now making $45,000 a month on 9 properties. She put her furniture in one of them and she's managing the others for the owner. So overnight, if you just take action, things can change so quickly. And arbitrage is not just for single family houses. Like we're doing it in a commercial space too. We've got a 45,000 square foot warehouse that I rented for $6,000 a month. And then we sublet it for $10,000 a month to a furniture company. And that we don't have to do any cleaning. We do no turnover. For the next 2 years, we're profiting $4,000 a month on a property we don't even own. So you can, once you learn this concept, you can use it in so many other applications. People are doing it with event venues and other things within real estate, not just Airbnb related.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Great. I love how you just pointed that out because it's true. It's like these concepts are like, I've gone to it. Like I have a real estate investor club. So we have all these speakers and I've gone to a lot of events in my life, and it's really like the same stories. There's no like really secret sauce other than people that are actually going out. Like if you're flipping houses, you got to buy low and make sure you can manage the construction and sell for a profit, right? Or people that are burning properties or whatever. I mean, it's just really like there's deals everywhere, and you just got to figure out what works in your market. I think that would be the thing that you need to figure out. Like here in Vegas, what would work? And where you are in North Carolina, what would work? What models would work? But pretty much if you can negotiate terms, and I think like getting comfortable. So the VA is doing the messaging to the property owner, and then when you get on the phone, right, you got to kind of practice that spiel a few times because they have to feel like this guy or girl is confident. They've done it before. It's no big deal. Versus like, because they don't want to feel like you're trying to take advantage of them. Like, and so you got to like the spiel's got to be good. So I'd be curious on maybe the next time we get you on the show to kind of walk through like the conversation that you have where you can exude the confidence to the landlord or the property owner, like, hey, we're going to take good care of your property. Plus, you're not dealing with anything. We'll take care of all the small maintenance. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, we didn't start out with my virtual assistant reaching out. I started out cold calling for 2 hours a day, every day. So I didn't even know that messaging would work until I just got so busy that I had a virtual assistant and I said, hey, like just send out this message to as many people as you can. And it ended up working just as well, if not better, because some people won't answer their phone. So I mean, people get hung up by the cold calling aspect of it, but really you're not even cold calling them. You're warming them up with the messages, and you're only calling the winners that are already excited to work with you. So like the biggest thing I tell people when thinking about this interaction is you're not trying to close them or sell them. You're trying to offer them a better tenant. So think about what you can do to be more valuable to that landlord. So for us, it's insurance. We offer insurance. We pay for any repairs under $200. We offer a long-term relationship. We're not coming, even if we're signing a 12-month lease, we have the intention of renting forever as long as the property performs. So think about a landlord's biggest expense, turnover. So if they don't have to turn over that property for the next 3 years at the minimum, and the rent is $1,500, you're saving them $4,500 just by you renting that property and renewing your lease. So this is all circling around providing more value and giving a better version of what the landlord's already looking for.
Yeah. That's really good. Quentin, this has been an amazing episode. You know, it got me excited. I'm like, all right,
Oh, good.
let's do it.
Good.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, I think it's the kind of the no-brainer type of investing because it's not that overwhelming, right? It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And whether you like, you know, I can go and buy property or I can arbitrage, I can do either or, which is more powerful. I like owning the real estate, and if you have the means to do it, because I like the tax write-offs and the deductions.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't have the means, then you should start with arbitrage, right? And I like how
Yeah.
you're teaching these students of yours about credit, because on the financing side, people come to me all the time. It's the same story. You know what it is? It's like, oh, I had to rehab this house because they wanted to burr this property, right? This is a
Yeah.
story I get like all the time right now. Well, what's your credit score? It's 630. Well, you want a DSCR loan. It's all based on credit score, right?
Yeah.
And so then I have to go into the spiel about like, this is why you need a business entity to like, you build your credit in there.
Exactly.
And then when you use the utilization, it doesn't show up on your personal credit
Yep.
report. That's
Exactly.
why, like, ask me how, because when I was younger and dumber, my score went from 700 to 560 because I missed payments, because I charged up $100,000 of credit card debt.
Yep.
So
You
I
didn't
love
have
that.
somebody there to tell you to first create a business entity and build your credit on the business side, and then use your personal credit as leverage to get business credit.
Yeah.
And then your utilization doesn't affect it. I wish I would have had somebody that could have told me that in the beginning. But the only advice I ever got about credit was you don't really need credit. You just pay cash. So I didn't think anything of it until I actually got into business, and I was like, well, how the heck am I going to buy a house if I don't have credit? There's no way. It was just dumb advice at the time. So that's why I say like a mentor is so powerful. Even if they don't hire me, hire somebody. Like the money you spend, you're going to get back 100 times over because they've been everywhere you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And just look at like what I look at is go, okay, look at Quentin. He's like 24. He's been doing this for like 4 years or 3 years, 4 years, right? And look what he's done in that time, which is pretty impressive, right? Because like, you know, at first I was like, wow, you bought your first you were smart to buy the house FHA, owner occupied, like then you had to move back home, but you sacrificed. And that first property, when it was starting to cash flow 1,000, 1,500 a month, then you're like, that was when like the light bulb really went off for you, and you just took advantage of it. And like, look, you know, at your age, to have the amount of cash flow, right? And to, you know, you now own 4 properties. This year, you're going to buy a 50-unit multifamily property. The time you're 30 years old, right? You could literally be sitting on a beach if you want to. You're not going to, but like that's what people want to do, right? That's like, you see these people that are 60, 70 years old. They're working at like, working at Target or Walmart or wherever, right? Like,
Yeah.
guys, this is like the young people out there, like, or the old people, this is what you need to do. Like, if you're worried
Yeah.
about your financial future, which, like, if you're not doing things like this and you're working a 9 to 5, you're pretty screwed, right? If you're working like a middle class 9 to 5 type job, like at the end of the year, even if you make 6 figures as a W-2 employee, you 30,000 goes out the door, 35,000 to taxes, right? So you got 70.
Yeah.
Time you pay your rent and your expenses, you have no money making 6 figures a year. So
Yeah.
like you need to be doing things like this. And
Yep.
before, like when I was in my 20s, there wasn't like these podcasts and stuff, right? Like there was no, at least like, hey, like this episode, people have enough information where they could go take action. They don't need to hire Quentin. Obviously, hiring
Yep.
a mentor, you're going to 10x the learning process, but there's enough information out there where you can go, and if you want to go faster and smarter, you hire a mentor or a coach
Yep.
or whatever you want to call it, right? And that's the bottom
Absolutely.
line. Like I can go and buy your knowledge, essentially, right? I'm buying your knowledge so I don't have to go make the same mistakes. I can that's
Yep.
smart. That's smart money. That's why people come to me for financing, because I know each funding box. This is what this lender does. This is what this fund does. This is how to structure
Yep.
the deal. And like it's like you can come to me or you can go to one bank and get the wrong information, and then you're stuck in their loan, and then you're complaining because you have a prepayment penalty for 5 years, not 2 years. And so
Yep.
it's all these things combined. And then, like when people call me, I'm always telling them about the credit game. You guys got to play the
Yeah.
credit game. Like the
Absolutely.
cool thing is with arbitrage, but the thing with arbitrage too, a lot of times they probably want to see what your personal credit score looks like. They still
No.
want to see that. Not
No.
often. No. So that's good.
I've only done one credit check, and I've signed over 45 leases. We've gotten rid of some, sold some, but only one personal credit check. I've only shown financials once.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
you got
So
some good arbitrage game.
yeah. I mean,
Some-
by using an LLC, you're able to get over all these different things because it automatically creates a different relationship and interaction with the owner. They think, even though you may not have a dollar to your name, but since you have an LLC and are showing professionalism and you've practiced your script and you know what you're talking about, like the only reason I closed the first guy was because I spent probably 10 hours like practicing my script, going through any questions he might ask me. And that way, whenever the time was there to sit down with him and answer questions, I as soon as he asked them, I rambled off my answers that I've been practicing already. So the problem is just preparation. People don't prepare, so they get stuck, and then they don't know what to say, so they take no for an answer. And anybody that's been in sales long enough knows that the first no is never the only no. You just may not have explained it well enough or broken down their walls to get to the actual reason why they're saying no.
Yeah. Like, well, I don't want a bunch of people staying in my house because there's going to be wear and tear, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I don't want to, they're going to be using the property, so many people are going to come through, they're going to be hard in the house, and I'm going to have to make more repairs. And like, these are all rebuttals you already have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it just, hey, you're going to get less calls, a lot less calls than you would if you had ask me how I know, because I get my property manager in Indiana is going and doing, right? Because they nickel and dime you. The property managers, right? Like they'll nickel and dime you on maintenance, on long-term stuff. And then your tenants are all entitled, so they'll call for every little thing. And then they'll flush down non-flushable wipes down the toilet, which cause the plumbing leak. And then you have to open up walls. They're Section 8, so I have to put them in a hotel, and I'm paying for all this. Like, I'm like, this isn't the best business model, right? So this was awesome. I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna join your Facebook group.
Okay, perfect.
I think this would be cool just to, keep my learning process, because you can never learn enough, right? Like, but what you said was right. You got to learn and take action. You can't keep learning. You got to take action. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think a lot of people, they get caught up on what strategy to start with. Like, do I want to do wholesaling, flipping, buy and hold? There's so much different knowledge coming from so many different angles. But the bottom line is, one, you need to figure out what resources you actually have. What's a reasonable way to start? If you have no money, yes, you can get started buying multifamily properties, but do you have the skill set to raise money? Do you have the skill set to put deals together? So look at the resources you have, and then figure out what the best route is to go, because you can be successful in any strategy. But if you are bounced around building so many different bridges, you're never going to finish a single one. You're going to have a ton of half-built bridges, and you're going to be sitting in a fetal position crying because it didn't work.
That's so true. Yeah, I do a live show every Friday with a multifamily syndicator. He's a good friend of mine. I met him at an event years ago. But he buys like $60 million buildings, right? And he raises capital.
Yep.
I mean, and on the day these syndicators acquire properties, it's not uncommon for them to get a payday of a 7-figure payday, where because they get acquisition fees and so forth, right? They're making more on the acquisition, like it's just amazing to see. So there's all these different levels, right? Like you can do that if you want to. Like that might be a step that you do. You start raising money if you wanted to, right? Like, and so that's the power of like real estate. Like you don't need money, you don't need credit. You do need this. This is what you need. You need to know how to put these deals together. And then like I liked how you talked about the warehouse, how you're like, let's use the arbitrage model. Let's lease this 45,000 square feet. The guy's been trying to lease it out forever. He's happy to get it leased out, and then you carve it up in smaller spaces, and now you're making $4,000 a month extra.
Yeah.
And you get to store all your shit there too. So that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Quentin, this was great. Love to have you back on the show at some point, because you delivered a lot of value, and I hope everybody out there enjoyed this as much as I did. And I'll put your Facebook group in the show notes so you guys can find Quentin's group, and then you can message him if you want to see if he's got any room in his coaching program, and you want to start out and get some arbitrage units in the next 90 days. So thanks so much, Quentin.
All right. Thank you, Beau.
Hey guys, Beau Eckstein here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.